Hey YouTube, what's up? Coming at you with a little bit different kind of video here. This is something I haven't really shown on YouTube yet, and I'm hoping to do something a little bit different. Now, let me just start off saying this is my toolbox. I'm going to start going through this, and I think there's actually a series that I'm going to start doing with this toolbox. But I enjoy a good toolbox tour as much as the next guy, maybe even a little bit more. I enjoy seeing everybody else's setups and things like that. But this isn't going to be one of those, and I can't really compare to some of those videos. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars invested into systems over 30 years or anything like that. I'm kind of in the middle here. So a little bit of background. I would consider myself a professional mechanic. I don't know that I am a very typical iteration of a typical mechanic. It's more or less for the last 7 years after college, I've been working for various state and federal land management agencies seasonally, pretty much traveling all over the country, finding a new job every 6 months for quite a few years now. And that's sort of put me on a different trajectory and given me a lot of different experience that I don't know that you're necessarily going to find from a conventional flat rate automotive mechanic. For those land management agencies, I overwhelmingly deal with stewardship and maintenance out in the field. I'm not particularly front country or shoreside. I'm typically back country and well out in the boonies, and that comes with its own certain set of interesting issues that need to be addressed and resolved. There's a very different thought process in some of that, and that's actually what I'm trying to get at today, is start exploring my thought processes, my personal philosophies on some of these items. Because when you look at these toolbox tour videos, it's a lot of, hey, look at me and the shiny tools and the tens of thousands of dollars I spent. And while that's cool, while that's fun to watch, all it really is a glorification of consumerism. Not trying to throw any real shade at that, but I don't know that that's the most helpful thing in the world for a new technician. And I'm hoping to be able to do something a little bit different, and hopefully some of you guys will think about at least one of the things that I talk about through this video, and hopefully throughout a series as I keep going. But I've spent entirely too much of my life thinking about systems, thinking about ways to improve things, how to deal with contingencies, logistics with multiple variables, because that's just the reality of working and living in remote environments and trying to make things happen with limited resources. And so that's really colored a lot of how I look at things. Similarly, all of my different job experiences have also really kind of made this box what it is. And it's a work in progress. I think this is kind of a lifetime endeavor, and I'm relatively early on in that process. Having basically had to fit my entire life in the back of a Trailblazer for 5 years, move around the country every 6 months, didn't really lend me to getting a box, building a tool set, things like that. And so I got a little bit later start than some. And this is not my primary vocation. My primary vocation involves chainsaws and trees and boats and the woods and everything else. Fire, EMS, this is all secondary. This is all kind of things that I had developed to support what I had been doing, as well as just personal interest. But I have worked professionally as a mechanic. I did 2 winters with one shop that had provided tools, but the one that really kind of changed me and got this setup going was the last place I'd worked. Now, I have not been a traditional automotive mechanic. Each time I have been a small engine technician. My specialty is in handheld two-stroke. I really, really enjoy chainsaws in particular, but just two-strokes in general. And that's kind of what I've specialized in and what I, as humbly as I can, claim a fair bit of mastery in. But I've expanded past that and done quite a bit more. That last place that I worked at was a steel dealer, and I mostly did the steel stuff, but they were also formerly a Simplicity and Toro dealer, and so I was still handling all the equipment that was small engine, like up through riding lawnmowers and zero turns that had gone through and been sold that were still in service that needed servicing. They were also a Kubota Bobcat dealer, and I handled a lot of the smaller equipment side of things like that, like the Bobcat zero turns, the little MT walk behind skid steers, the BX series and B series Kubotas, nothing too crazy, but like that sub 30 horses, and into their like GR series riders and things like that is where I spent most of my time. And so that actually created a lot of range. It created a lot of different stuff that I kind of needed that's not going to be typical in your flat rate automotive tech's toolbox. And this is not that box. And most importantly, that's not my full-time job. That is what I've done several winters. But when I went to that last place, the steel and the small engine and heavy equipment dealer, it was a more traditional shop. The previous shops that I'd worked at for small engines actually had provided tool sets, which was incredibly convenient for somebody that was perpetually new to town, and that worked out well for me. But since then, I'd gotten married, bought a house, that whole kit and caboodle, and when I'd gotten to this place, it was a more traditional mechanic shop. You're expected to provide your own tools and box, and frankly, that was something that I didn't want my entire life, so I kind of jumped at it. I didn't go crazy. I have responsibilities and I have things to consider, and there's, as you'll find out throughout this series, I consider a lot of variables every time whenever I think and do just about anything. That's kind of what I'm hoping to be able to showcase, is just kind of explore my thought process in all of this and go forward from there. So after almost 8 minutes, what am I trying to talk about today? Well, today I want to start not with a tour, not with showing you every little piece I've got, every little bit and bobble, every even gap in my system that I've got, because this is a growing system. I plan on continuing to buy tools for the rest of my life, piece by piece. I might spend more, budget more, if I'm doing it professionally, wrenching professionally at the time. But even when I slow down and I'm not wrenching professionally, this box is an investment. This box is something that I can pick up, take with me to a job site today, and start making money and supporting my family. And I think that's kind of what's most important about this when we get past all of the fanciness and all of the shiny of everything. And I just want to go through kind of how I started building, but more importantly, hone in on one thing, and that is my toolbox isn't finished. It's never going to be finished. But especially, it's got empty space. Now, that's something that you won't necessarily see a ton of. People tend to be kind of embarrassed about it. They think they got space, they need to fill it. That's not really how I've approached this. For me, the box is the apparatus that contains multiple systems that I operate. And I want to be efficient in those operations so that I can get things done faster, make more money, do a better job, all of those things. Just endeavoring to be a better mechanic. And now, like I said, I'll get into what I've got later, but I just want to kind of go through the drawers real quick and show you. I've got a lot of different rails. Well, I've got a lot of the same kind of rail, and we'll go into that at some point. But I've just got some basics, some things that work out. I've got some empty space. I've actually got quite a bit of empty space. And part of that is because I tend to commit, if not equally, a fair bit of time to making sure that things are organized and to some extent maximizing space. But that's not really everything. So going through, now I've got a bunch of crap in here. This is just my box as it is. I haven't polished a thing. There's still dust on everything. The drawers are dirty. And this is just what I've got in here. It's not including my whole shop or anything else. And we'll get into all of those other systems. But yeah, let's go with the pliers drawer. This is something I really wanted to kind of talk about. Now, I can fit a lot more pliers in this drawer. There's empty space here, but there's also a couple of kinds of empty spaces. I don't just have this big empty space right here in the middle. I've even got more organization than my current setup will allow. And in many ways, that would probably bother a lot of people. This is capacity. This is why I organized. Before I put these organizers in here, this drawer looked full. More or less, if you got all of these all laid out on their sides, it looked pretty full. But I wasn't considering the vertical space that we had here. Get all of these here on racks, and all of a sudden, a lot more room opens up. Now, why doesn't that bother me? Well, empty space in my toolbox, to me, isn't some embarrassing thing that I've got to fill. It's future capacity. That's why I worry so much about having things organized and creating that space. Because I can pack this box for years as long as I continue to become more efficient and more organized in that process. It's going to be amazing how much I end up filling this with over the course of a lifetime. But as you can see, I've got a lot of room to grow. There's some stuff that I just didn't need. There were some shop tools that I didn't need to get, and I haven't justified owning personally just yet because I'm not currently in those environments doing what I need to do. But you'll see, I've got a whole drawer that's just got a few things in here, but is mostly designated for just holding the extra organizational equipment that I've got. This is just for the future, since right now it's just sitting in my house. I don't need this space to hold any of my other tools that I've got elsewhere. It's just here because this is going to be what eventually continues to build out this box. If we really want to get into it, even here, in some of these rails, I've got empty and wasted space, according to a lot of people. But that's not really what I'm going for. Now, having done mobile service work, having moved this cart around, having been in environments where if you didn't bring something, you didn't have it, and just trying to simplify all kinds of variables and processes, I've ended up landing on a system that I can live with, I can manage, I can operate, and I can maintain. I'm not saying this is the right setup for everyone in every situation, but this is what I've developed for myself. I'm well aware that the top of this box can hold a lot more sockets if I was to use something like a toolbox widget or tool grid and kind of just have those stationary organizers. Why did I spend the money to load my box up with Ernst stuff? Well, the reason I ended up settling on the Ernst socket bosses was because they're modular. This is a system that I can then incorporate into my system. So instead of having one individual peg for every single one of these sockets that only lives in this drawer, that doesn't retain anything, I have broken my tools down into kits. And I'll get real deep off into the weeds on that later, but that extra room that you've seen in between these sockets, all this inefficiency and waste, is really because I'm optimizing for something other than total storage capacity. I'm not trying to see how much crap I can fit into this toolbox. I'm trying to see how much useful, necessary things I need to have in this box to be able to go and work, and to be able to pull one of these systems, pull one of these rails, pull a tray all at once, take it to wherever I need to go, get the job done, have an adequate amount of what I need to get done there, and go from there. I'm planning for the future. I know that I'm just probably gonna buy tools here and there for the rest of my life, like everybody's grandpa, everybody's dad. I got that old man gene in me that kind of made me think that way early in life. And that's what I'm continuing to do piece by piece, is the pressures of my environment and my budget require and allow me. So I've kind of rambled a little bit here, and I don't want to have everybody completely lose the forest for the trees here, and I think there's going to be a lot more that I'm going to talk about in ways that I can kind of break this down and get more specific on some of these things in the future. But for right now, I think I'll just leave you with that. In summary, I have empty space in my toolbox. It's not a complete system. It's not the ultimate toolbox tour. But it's a living and breathing, working ecosystem that provides me the capability that I need to be able to do work, to be able to provide for myself or my family, or just to be able to accomplish tasks. And all of this extra space isn't waste, isn't inefficiency. Right now, it's just untapped potential. This is future capacity, future capability in this drawer, in the black between the tools. And I don't know that enough people think that far ahead. They buy a box for the tools that they have, instead of buying a box for the kind of tool user they plan on being for the rest of their life and into 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not saying this box is going to handle that. I've already got plans for other boxes, other things. I've already got a fair number of other systems kind of at play. I mean, just for kicks and giggles, I've got more of my construction stuff just in my job boxes there. I don't have everything split off into my toolbox, but this system is something that I can absolutely use while it's here at my house, and then grab and go if I find myself in need of employment, wrenching for a living again. And that's a kind of insurance that pays back dividends as far as I'm concerned. But I've rambled long enough this time. I'm sure there's going to be dozens of others of these rambling videos, but eventually I'll probably make a point at some point. And hopefully, as this goes on, as I can kind of get my thoughts expressed through this and kind of explain all of the little pieces of the system that I have created, I can start kind of bringing you all more into the fold and explaining more, and hopefully the way that I've thought about things can in some way, shape, or form start informing and helping you make decisions for how you want your setup to be, particularly younger guys that are still in the process of building their kit, but even older guys that are continuing to develop. That's the main thing, is that it's not one static ultimate toolbox. This is a living, breathing system that is going to be with me throughout the future and is going to grow and develop with me. So, like I said, probably about 5 times now, I've talked long enough. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Either way, I'll see y'all in the next one.